make it 3.
Going for the St. Louis now.
Oh, no.
Son of a bitch.
You get your 2?
Yeah.
Welcome back to the channel, everyone. Thotgor here, of course, and today we are going to take a look at a battle on loop, and we are in tier 10. So you can see, once again, I'm grouped up with, or divisioned up rather, with Dorrej. Dorrej has taken out his Montana, and I am sailing out in the Hindenburg. Have I mentioned lately how much I enjoy the Hindenburg? This ship is amazing. At tier 10, it's really, really good at what it does, and what it does is dish out a whole bunch of firepower downrange very quickly. Now, I'm still on the fence about, whether or not the Hindenburg, say, is better than the Zhao, because I have my Zhao, and I don't think I can say that, because the Zhao is just better at more things. It has better armor, a little better maneuverability, it has better HE damage, it has the highest potential for AP damage in the game, it has better torpedoes. The Hindenburg, what it has going for it is its guns. They are really, really awesome, rapid fire, and you can shoot up to 20 kilometers. Now, that being said as well, you cannot forget about the Hindenburg AA potential. The AA on this ship can be spectacular. If you spec out your captain, get your modules for all your AA upgrades, this ship is in contention for one of the best AA cruisers at tier 10. So there's that as well. Now, for myself, my own personal playstyle, with my Hindenburg, I just go with the stock AA, whatever it's got. I'm more concerned about the guns, frankly, and that's what I'm going to be doing. I understand the role and the need for for AA cruisers in the game, but when I play my cruisers, I don't stress the AA on the guns on the ship, because the main guns are really your main battery, right? You can never guarantee that there's going to be a carrier in the game that you're loading into. Now, this being said, obviously a good AA cruiser that I have is my Kutsov. Now, with the Kutsov, I definitely do have the modules for AA improvements. The captain skills on the Kutsov, though, are more geared towards the guns. Faster rate of fire, faster turn, better chance of fire, those sorts of things. That's kind of how I mix it up. Anyway, we are on Loop. Loop might be a map that maybe you don't see very often. I'm fairly sure that this is a tier 10 map. You could probably get into it if you're in tier 8 or tier 9, because you get dragged into tier 10 battles. It's an interesting map. It's at first glance, it almost looks like Fault Line, right? Pretty similar layout. The layout over at C is a little different than what we would see at Fault Line, but fairly similar map. The biggest difference on this map I find, is the size. It is a large map, so you do need to play it a little differently. In these large maps, or on these large maps, generally speaking, you're going to start engaging enemies further away, and you're going to be, closing that engagement range until you get to a point where there's cover. And you can see that, myself and Dorrej, because we're going to be sticking together this battle, we've basically reached that point. Like, I'm behind cover, but I'm still able to fire over this cover, which was important to me. I still want to be able to fire over the cover and help support my team whatever I can. But in turn, this most likely means the enemy can fire back at me. Now, I get really lucky in this game in that I don't attract too much enemy attention, which really surprises me, because if I'm in a game and I see an enemy Hindenburg on the enemy team, it is my #1 priority. I'm going to try and take that thing down as soon as I spot it. Same thing if I see a rune on the enemy team, I'm taking that thing down, because I know how deadly those ships are. Anyway, you can see, we are kind of circling in and behind B. This was the plan. B and C was obviously where the team wanted to go. We're not, Dorrej and I are really skilled players, and not, to toot my own horn, I'm not, trying to do that. But anyway, and we weren't willing to go off on our own at A, right? It's just not what's going to happen. And just because you don't go off to a single cap zone at the beginning of the battle, especially in a cruiser and higher tier battleships that are quick, doesn't necessarily matter, because you can always get back to that point at a later point in time in the battle, right? Like, especially right now, you can see that we've secured C. We're working on B. Once B is secure, then we can start considering A. But you also need to be prepared for the situation, where the enemy comes in and takes a point from you, and that's the advantage of at least having some sort of hold over A. My team, for the most part, is pretty spread out, right? We do have some ships, myself and Dorrej and another cruiser, who are really in and behind B. But the majority of my ships, you can see, are actually over to the west, and they're north of the A point. We're now capping the A point, but yeah, that's where they are now. And in higher tier battles, this is not uncommon. It's something that actually that is complained about often enough in higher tier battles, is the slow progression of the game, because a lot of players and a lot of ships will tend to stay at their maximum range, right? We can see them firing off at Montana way out there, and we can see this on my team as well with, the positioning of some of my allied ships pretty far away. But it does... you will eventually work in closer. The trick I find to these higher tier battles is to know and to figure out, or at least to recognize, I should say, to recognize when, to push forward and to take that initiative for the team. You don't want to do it too soon, because if you do, you will find yourself pushing forward, overextended with no support and quickly sinking. Whereas if you do pick the right time, ideally you would find yourself being supported by a number of allied ships, and that support and that push would ultimately result in the capping of a point, or the takedown of some important enemy ships that you needed to take down in order to gain the cap advantage, for example. So tier 10s, well, not necessarily only tier 10, tier 9 as well. The gameplay is a little slower, but you do have to keep this in mind, because a lot of times when you're new to the higher tiers, you're more used to the lower tier gameplay, and you got to keep in mind that the gameplay evolves as you progress up the tree, and up the tiers as well, right? And don't get impatient with these sorts of situations. What I generally do is I just keep circling around, just keep sailing myself in circles, or ovals, just to see what is happening, continue to get shots off. I'm always trying to fire my guns at something, but continue to get those shots off. Now, in this case here, I turned the wrong direction, basically. I wanted to turn to the starboard, I believe, in order to group back up with Dorrej, but instead I did the port turn and big circles. So now I'm just circling in around Dorrej, and I'm going to catch up quickly. But this is what has resulted in me not being able to fire at anything until the Izumo comes up. Now, I was really happy to see this Izumo, in fact, because it is really, really easy to get a whole bunch of damage on the Izumo. Well, not this time anyway, because one of my allies, I believe it was Dorrej, just basically almost erased the Izumo, and then I sneak in there and take the kill. But still, Izumo was gone, so fantastic, not too shabby at all. In the meantime, the enemies, of course, have captured the B cap zone, so we need to, kind of group up here and do something about this B cap zone. It'd be too much of a stretch to actually go over there to C and to take that point. Even though we are nearby it, it is a bit of a stretch. Unless a lot of my allies come together here and we all start pushing into the C point, you do want to sort of concentrate yourself on B, on the middle point. Even though right now on the minimap, we're going right towards C, basically. You can see, though, I do have Dorrej, I am grouping back up here with Dorrej, and we're staying with the allies that we have, and we're kind of circling back in, and it does actually look like we would have a good chance down here at C. Now, even though, like I just said, B would be, the ideal target to go take and all this stuff, you also want to be able to think on the fly and to interpret your minimap. One thing that I have been noticing with maybe some newer players or weaker players is situational awareness. Situational awareness, and I've been talking about this with some other people in the clan as well, it's something that people overlook, right? You fire your guns and you're always in your sniper mode, like we see now on the screen, just always in this sniper mode. You need to pay attention. As soon as you fire your guns, come out of sniper mode, take a look around, scan the minimap, see what is going on, and then, go back to sniper mode. Hopefully you'll see some of your shots land, so you then judge where to fire the next shots. This is really important. So using that situational awareness that, I just explained, we do see that, we only have this one enemy ship off in the distance here, North Carolina, I believe. We can actually get in here and take C. We are actually capping C, plus on top of that, we had an allied destroyer, you may or may not have noticed, was really close to the B cap zone. Yes, it's great to get into those cap zones and to, get the points from taking the cap, but if you have to risk, if chances are you're going to die in the process of doing it, or you're not going to have a whole bunch of support doing it, and you're not in fact a destroyer, you really want to rethink that whole strategy there. I mean, the destroyer went in. Let the destroyer take the point, right? We're going to cap this this C point here, and that'll again give us 3 points for the game, which isn't too bad at all. I have a Tirpitz off in the distance that I'm firing at, just putting some some armor-piercing shots into this player here, hoping to get the player sunk. Now, again, I do still have the benefit of my support of Dorrej, and we have a cruiser here with us as well, so this is good. I mean, we're all working on the Tirpitz right now to try and get this guy down. He's almost gone. You can see I did about 4,300 on that last salvo, and then one of my allies comes in there and finishes the player off. So fantastic. We just capped the C point, so this is amazing, and we are now losing the A point. So you can see as well the whole back and forth, right? Which is also something else that I've noticed in these higher tier games, is taking your points is not as straightforward as in the lower points. You're going to focus these 2 points and take it. Now, some battles it can be, obviously. But these stranger battles, like the one we're looking at now, where the teams are relatively dispersed, means that multiple points will be capped at multiple times, and you have to kind of be, pardon for the pun, you have to kind of be fluid on the battlefield and make sure that you're, able to absorb or lose 1 point because, you're pushing somewhere else and you can take that point. And that's sort of what we've got going on here. I mean, my team has finally, even though B and C were the points that we were going to take originally, we have finally secured B and C. For a while there, we were relying on A. But the enemies are now basically all over at A. We do still have some enemies in the background in behind B and C that we cannot see at this point in time, but for the most part, it's just C at this time, or sorry, A at this time, that we do really need to focus down, I guess. I was going to say worry, but we don't really need to worry about it anymore at this point in time. It was also at this point in time where Dorrej, because we were kind of at a position at this point in time. I guess I can still fire in, but we're sailing over to the west side of the map here to help the allies out, and Dorrej is like, damn, Thotgor, all this time you didn't take any damage. So I was like, I know, I'm sitting on 55,000 damage and I haven't even taken a shot from anyone. But this is an ideal situation for a cruiser. This is what you want to have happen, and we've talked about it in other videos. And keep in mind, the way that I'm pulling this off is making sure that when I'm engaging enemies, there are lots of other allied ships around me, so that instead of me being the only ship the enemies can focus down, the enemies have to choose which one are they going to focus down, and then that increases my chances of not being chosen to be focused down and staying alive. So that's exactly how I've been pulling this one off, is just simply staying with my allies. There's a lot to be said about staying with your allies. It is still it's still surprising, and it surprises me every time I see it, where we seem to have clear communication in the chat box with the team. We're going to be focusing these 2 points. People seem to agree on it. Everyone seems to go that direction, but there's still always that one, maybe 2 players who decide, nope, we cannot give up the 3rd point. You only need a majority for victory. You don't need to have all 3 points to get victory. Especially when there are 3 points. You can take 2 of those points and just abandon the 3rd one, and it'll be fine. I mean, obviously, that map strategy and the layout of the map is going to come into play there, but just in a general sense, you just need the 2 points. So, I don't know, it just always surprises me when I see it. Anyway, we're finally getting into closer range here of some of these enemies, and this is going to be a little hairy. Now, I have 100% hit points, so I wasn't necessarily too concerned about getting just one-shotted, for example. So I am getting a little closer than maybe I normally should, but I'm going to do it so that I can just get in here and start focusing people down. Now, I do have the Montana over here. Damn, that Montana's a sexy ship. But anyway, I've got her off in the distance, so I'm going to start firing on her. I do have another cruiser over here as well. We can see the Des Moines as well, so we're going to get some shots into that player just to get the Des Moines gone. I mean, this Des Moines is very dangerous, especially at these close ranges. This is where the Des Moines is really at home, at these close ranges, and you just want to get those ships gone as quick as you possibly can if you find yourself within its firing range. So victory is ours. We don't actually get to finish off the Montana, but whatever. Pretty decent game. I didn't think it was too bad. I mean, I've definitely done more damage than 72,000 at tier 10, but it was still, I enjoyed the game because of the teamwork and the changing of the caps there, right? And you do get to see a different sort of play style that typically happens at tier 10. I finished 3rd overall. Dorrej was 1st, so we did our part on the team. Again, you know, about 72,000 damage, which isn't too bad at all. At the end of the day, I do still manage to walk away with 137,000 credits and 4,000 4,000 experience. The experience isn't so great, but over 100,000 credits earned in a tier 10, considering I'm running all premium consumables. I'm happy with it. Anyway, that is today's video. I do hope you guys enjoyed it. You know, as always, remember to leave any comments you have for me in the video comment section below. Love reading those and responding back to them. Hit the old like button if you did like today's video. Hit subscribe if you are not a subscriber. And as always, I do hope you enjoy the rest of your day.